Welcome back. It's still the Ondo elections. The voting is underway, and we'll be getting in touch and linking up with our correspondents to bring you up to speed with what's happening there. But for now, let's talk about the 2024 TETFund National Research Fair. And to help us do this, we have in our Abuja studio the TETFund National Research Fair Committee Chair, Dr. Umar Bindir. Good to have you with us this morning.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Okay, we're talking about National Research Fair. That's something that will sound new. So let's talk about it. What is the reason behind this?
Well, this particular fair is a project of TETFund. TETFund is a household name, a public institution that has been established to support the revamping of tertiary institutions, particularly public tertiary institutions, our universities, our polytechnics, our colleges of education, and some affiliated research institutions. So, for the last 15-20 years, TETFund has been doing great. I mean, most people, when you visit universities, all you see is TETFund, this TETFund, that polytechnics. You see all the buildings and so on and so forth. But TETFund strategically is also supporting the lecturers and the researchers with research funds. And I'm sure most of us are aware that expos, research expositions, research trade fairs and so on are everywhere in our country. Everywhere we see that. We see some institutions having a display of bits and pieces that they've been coming up with. Universities, when they do their graduation, you see these bits and pieces. When they have the Ministry of Science and Technology, we see these bits and pieces. Even the organized private sector, when they have their trade fairs, you see these bits and pieces. The reason why we have expos anywhere in the world is to try to ginger the absorption of these outputs by the nationals so that we too, we can be able to generate young people who are entrepreneurs within the bandwidth of the small and medium enterprises, producing goods, delivering services, and gradually that is what is going to revamp our economy. That is where the jobs are. That is where the creation of wealth is. That is where the distribution of wealth is, and so on and so forth. But over the years, we've not seen this happen. Nigeria has a very wide and varied intellectual space. We have nearly 300 conventional universities composed of public and private. We have the same kind of numbers to do with polytechnics, same kind of numbers with the colleges of education, between 300 to 600 research institutions. How come with this intellectual energy, with all our very high capacity people, that poverty in this country is still a problem? How come that infrastructure in rural areas, which is, something that technology can conquer, is still a challenge? How come that majority of our rural population don't have access to potable water, and so on and so forth? So what TETFund has said is that since, as an institution, they support research and development, they said, come on, let's start asking the question of why is this linkage not happening? And therefore, this is the genesis of this particular maiden TETFund National Research Fair. It is not an ordinary research fair. It is a fair where we've been assigned to make the universities, make the polytechnics, make the colleges of education, make the research institutions, and even make our common people who you see coming up with great stuff, pull it up, screen it, come up with things that are scalable, things that are manufacturable, things that are instantly usable, and then bring it into the fair. Then bring private sector so that they can see what they can pick. Bring young people who are unemployed, ginger them in one way or the other technically to see if they can be linked to something technical to spur them into entrepreneurship and so on and so forth. So this is the fair. It's unique, and we hope if we continue to do this, yes, there will be mistakes here and there. We can also mature and possibly wake up the elephant in Nigeria for Africa.
Yeah, Doctor, one doesn't get the impression that much research is going on in Nigeria because we don't get to hear the results of whatever it is that goes on. Why is that so? And is this fair going to help us in understanding what is going on in that area and the results which we're supposed to have been hearing?
Well, you see, there are many indices to demonstrate too that research is happening in Nigeria. First, universities traditionally are institutions where you teach young people, you give them certificates, but there is no student that passes through the four walls of university without doing what we call as a final year project. You've done it. So, and if strategically that all these thousands or millions of projects were designed in such a way that they can solve a problem, they can come up with okra slicers, they can come up with orange juice squeezing equipment, they can come up with organic fertilizer creativities, they can come up with power, bits and pieces to do with solar or renewable and so on and so forth. And then when you have such results, there should be additional effort in terms of spurring the interest of young people or older people or people who have enterprises so that they can take it. In this, there are cost implications in terms of who provides the funding to push the raw materials, to push the capacity building, to push the marketing, to push the branding, and so on and so forth. Two, we should have pushed our intellectual property management to mature such that even the researchers are getting their bits in terms when you license technology from the research source up to the destination of entrepreneurs, so that we can be able to push the consumption of our own technological output in our nation to make life easier, so that supply and demand will now take it. Things will be cheaper, the quality will gradually improve, and so on and so forth. Now, one of the indices that this is happening is the rate at which Nigerian academics are promoted to become senior lecturers, to become associate professors, to become professors. There is no senior lecturer that has not been promoted on the basis of research. And Nigeria has the highest rate in this continent. No associate professor gets that title without research and development and publishing. Nigeria has the highest rate in this continent, and certainly no professor can actually climb that vintage position without being the Baba of research and publication and conference presentation and so on and so forth. So, this is the key. If this is happening, technology normally doesn't coexist with poverty. Poverty runs away from technology because technology is the solution for social things. So how come in Nigeria that these two are coexisting? This is the question mark. So results are happening, but they are what we call as, if you go to universities, research institutes, you see the symmetry of research results. If it is faculties of engineering, you see so many devices, prototypes, how to do agriculture, how to manufacture bits and pieces, and so on and so forth. So this is the realization that Nigeria has the resource, but it is not using it well. And this is why we are becoming gradually more and more consuming country. And the people who are actually bringing their products into Nigeria, taking our foreign exchange, taking our money to bring those things, are very happy. They are smiling all the way to the bank. And the saying in academia is that when you take your money to go and buy somebody's produce, you are exporting prosperity. You are now picking the products of their research and development. When you bring those things and just use it, you are now importing poverty because you are stagnant. This we want to reverse, to make sure that when we have our resources, let the prosperity stay in the country. Let us also bring other countries to come and take our own R&D results to their countries. So research is happening. It is vast everywhere. That connection is what this fair is trying to address. And God willing, we can be able to sustain our efforts. In the next 4 or 5 years, we should also emerge as a technology giant.
I would say well done, but when we talk about research happening, then the results or the statistics from the research application of this statistics to our development in the country is also very key. You want to speak quickly to that, and of course to funding some of this research.
Well, you see, these are the bits and pieces that are a bit challenging in our country. Development and underdevelopment, literally, it is the application of technology for solving your problems that defines this. Countries that have been able to solve their social problems, produce goods and services to solve social problems in other countries, are actually very, very strong in this research and development. And the menu is, first, you must have a very, very strong policy platform. For example, the policy of domestication. If this country have domesticated how to do pure water, how to do bottled water, how to lift water from boreholes or clean aquifers, treat it and provide Nigerians with water, why do you allow a foreigner to come here and do it? So policy has to say it. If, for example, we have perfected the process of producing rice, processing it, packaging it, why should anybody foreign to come here and then produce rice or bring their rice and sell in Nigeria? This kind of policies is what countries that want to move to the next level do. Second, in those countries you find that their universities, their research institutions and all these institutions are very, very strong. Strong in the sense that when they speak, that speech becomes the best practice. They do research well, they do research that affects their countries, and they look over the wall and even see your problems and do research to solve your problems so that they can carry your money and you carry their own results. And they are constantly getting better. We too, we have to do this. Third, these countries, even as you see them, they have their GDPs in trillions of dollars. They actually invest between 3 to 7% of that GDP in funding R&D. So every time, I'm in my early 60s now. I have seen mainframe computers, big computers like the size of this room, that can only do pluses and minuses. I have seen that transit to mini computers, to desktop computers that has no hard drive, to laptops that has only hard drive of 10 megabytes. Till today, now you have even a flash drive that is 2 to 5 terabytes. I have seen it throughout. We've seen printers that are 9-pin dot matrix to 12-pin dot matrix, letter quality. Now we're seeing colored lasers. That is literally picture. Now, for this to happen, the vigor of mental capacity has to be on. That is where the investment is important. Once you're stagnant, you are left behind.
Yeah.
4, when you have raw materials, in those countries, they never push their raw materials out and start importing finished product. That is where the knowledge is. That is where the jobs are. But you see, we do that. So with realizing all these things is why TETFund, under this architect that you see, a very, very vibrant, middle-aged gentleman, the executive secretary, he said, look, we can do it. We go to these countries. We present conference papers. They clap for us. We publish in their journals. They refer to our publication. How come that we cannot solve our problem in poverty, out of school children, and so on and so forth? Power, So this is why this sparks up. We have the resource, and through this kind of fair, we can unleash the energy of our mental capacity to solve our problems and to sustain it for our development.
Quickly, let's, as we wind down, let's speak to the date for the fair, the venue, and if this is going to be an annual thing.
Well, this is the maiden edition of this type of fair. So we are tomorrow, the 17th, is actually the start date. So all the inventors that we've collected so much, nearly 5,000 creativities that have been sent to the committee. We've screened it. We've selected the bits that we think can actually connect very, very quickly. All these selected people have been communicated to. They are going to come to the venue, which is Eagle Square, tomorrow. So the registration, all the pavilions and the marquees are ready. So they will come in tomorrow. The Honorable Minister of Education will be there, and many other ministers and heads of institutions to give a press briefing to tell Nigerians that this is happening. On Monday, it is going to be the commissioning day. So again, most of the high-level dignitaries and even Mr. President, possibly if he's not there, his representative, will be there to actually launch the thing open. And then it will be open for 4 days. Young people will come, and our job from the National Research Fund Screening and Monitoring Committee, a capacity of nearly 60 professors chosen from everywhere in Nigeria in a committee, will now nurture the connection. So when we see a young person looking lost, we can drag his attention to this puff fryer, or the masa fryer, or dudu oshun making technology, or perfume extracting equipment, or some kind of solar invention to charge telephones. And when we can trigger that particular interaction, talking about the intellectual property, how to establish businesses, and then we have consulted all these financial institutions, the Bank of Agriculture, Bank of Industry, commercial banks.
Thank you,
CBN,
Doctor. Thank you. We've run completely out of time, Doctor.
Their resources.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And we wish you all the best in this national research fair, and we're hoping that the outcome will be beneficial to the development of the nation. We've been having a chat with the chairman, TETFund National Research Fair Committee, Dr. Umar Bindir. Thank you once more for your time on the show.
Thank you so much.
Sunrise will be back in a moment, and we'll be talking about the wheel. Do stay with us.